welcome to 5 Minute 40k, the short, sharp look at all things hobby. Today a short video taking a look at the July FAQ changes just announced for the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex. So why was an FAQ needed? Well, the Adeptus Mechanicus have really been dominating the meta across Grand Tournaments and across RTTs lately. Lucius Forge World lists have been coming top of lots of tournaments, and I think people feel, quite rightly in my opinion, that the Adeptus Mechanicus abilities are a little bit oppressive, mainly through a combination of very cheap, very good units, and a lot of stacking buffs and auras and abilities that can be put on top of them very, very easily, making them both very hard to kill and very good at shooting and killing other units. Now, of course, the Adeptus Mechanicus should be good at shooting, it's pretty much what they do, but, you know, it does sometimes make things a little bit difficult when you have to go up against them. So what have they actually changed? Well, starting at the top, there's been an amendment to the Solar Blessing dogma of the Lucius Forge World, Lucius lists probably being the dominant Forge World used in the meta. So the Solar Blessing dogma has two parts. One of these allows you to add 3 inches to the range of all ranged weapons. This has been retained. The change has come in the ability to add 1 to your saving throws when you take hits from 1 damage ranged weapons. This is now limited to being outside of light cover, i.e. it removes the stacking with the native additional 1 to your saving throw if you're in light cover terrain. This is pretty good. It means it's not going to be quite as egregious as it used to be, but then again, I don't think we were seeing many AdMech players sort of shoving their Skitarii units into terrain to get the stack, and this is still very, very powerful, so it's still going to be a big presence on the tabletop. Moving on, we've got some stratagems. The acquisition at any cost stratagem for 1 CP allows for auto-passing morale tests if an Adeptus Mechanicus unit is within 6 inches of an objective selected in the morale phase. This has been changed in a couple of ways. Now the unit must be wholly within 6 inches of the objective, so no sort of stringing out, and the stratagem can only be used once per game. So this really limits the use of this a little bit and just means you're not going to run into potentially situations where AdMech players can have units that have been whittled down and can still just hold objectives by auto-passing morale on top of the once per game auto-pass for insane bravery that you get as part of the core rules. Enriched Rounds, which is a very popular stratagem, it was 1 CP, it's now either 2 CP or 1 CP. So essentially the cost is now 2 CP if it's used on a unit containing 11 or more models, and 1 CP on a unit if it contains 10 or less. Now what this stratagem allows you to do is auto-wound a target on an unmodified hit of a 4+, which, when you think about the amount of shooting that AdMech units can do, it's pretty powerful. So they've amended it to be an unmodified 5+. Again, a little bit better, and something I think a lot of people were predicting would happen. They've also changed the Galvanic Volley Fire stratagem. This is a 2 CP stratagem that can be used to change a Skitarii Ranger's Galvanic Rifles, which are normally heavy 2, strength 4, AP 1, 1 damage, to Rapid Fire 2, putting out an insane amount of shots on a big block of those Skitarii Rangers. Instead, the type characteristic now changes to Heavy 3, so essentially they all get an extra shot. Still very good, but not quite as oppressive as it was previously. You can see a theme here. The Iron Strider Ballistari and the Sidonian Dragoon units have also been changed. They've lost the core keyword. These guys are the, well, I'll call them the laser chickens and the taser chickens, i.e. the little 2-legged robots with autocannons or las cannons, the more popular build on the Iron Strider Ballistari, and the Sidonian Dragoons are the guys who carry the big taser lance and generally go charging into things and cause trouble. By losing the core keyword, it means they remove the effect of a range of warlord traits, for example Programmed Retreat, which allows units to fall back and shoot, Holy Order benefits such as the Logi, which allows them to ignore -1 or 2 AP, reducing it to AP 0, and certain relics and abilities, for example the Skitarii Marshal's Servo Skull, which gives the reroll 1s to hit, and the Exemplar's Eternity Relic, which is commonly put on the Skitarii Marshal to also give reroll 1s to wound, obviously within a 6-inch aura in the case of the reroll 1 to wound, but then again if your laser chickens were sitting at the back, it was still going to make use on them and still makes them a little bit more powerful. I've seen some people saying it's a bit unfair to catch the Dragoons as they weren't necessarily the meta. Maybe so, but I guess if you're changing Iron Striders across the board, the Dragoons are still a form of Iron Strider, so you can see why GW have done it. I guess the big question on this is this enough? Does this really take away a lot of the abilities of the AdMech that are perhaps a little bit too oppressive in the game? Well, in many ways yes, but in some no, and the AdMech is still going to be very, very powerful. This seems to be along the lines of a lot of the FAQs we've seen, for example for the Drakari, where they remove some of the more egregious stuff, but keep it so that the army is still very, very powerful. And don't get me wrong, you are still going to be seeing Lucius Forge Worlds at the top of tournaments, at least in my view. One thing I think that has surprised a lot of people is there has been no points changes. Skitarii units, for example, the Rangers and the Vanguard, are around 8 points, so very, very cheap for what they can do. And the Iron Strider Ballistari, I think, come in at around 65 points, so again, very cheap for what they do. Well, add 10 points for the Las Cannon, so 75 points, but still a very cheap, very good platform. So it is a bit surprising to see points changes that haven't been included. Then again, this is an FAQ, and GW are tending to move away from doing their points changes in the FAQs. We'll have to see how this will change the meta going forward, but at least we can look forward to some of the more wacky stuff that the AdMech could get away with being removed. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the FAQ and what changes, if any, you'd like to see to the AdMech, or even maybe the Drakari, who we know are still very good and at the top of the meta. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and let me know as well what you'd like to see in future episodes of 5 Minute 40k.